What's going on, everybody? This is Frank with Frankly Collecting, and we've got a very special collaborative interview that we're doing with Dream Book TCG. So we have Philip Siegel here with Dream Book, and he's the creator, and he's also among one of the many talented artists behind the Dream Book team. So we just had a very special release for Dream Book. They've had a couple of products come out. They had alpha, beta. They recently had a successful Kickstarter, and now they're about to drop. Well, they have dropped, but it's in pre-order stage. Their premier first edition product, Ancient Mystic. So today we're gonna be talking about Dream Book a little bit overall, kind of talk about Phil's influences and experience bringing Dream Book to fruition. And we're actually gonna look at a few like Dream Book cards, talk about the art, talk about like what you're looking at on a card and kind of what the gameplay is kind of like, get a general sense of it. And we're going to focus in on Ancient Mystic, talk about what makes that set special, talk about different characters and qualities of that set. So let's go ahead and get right into it real quick, guys. So I'm Frank. My channel is Frankly Collecting. I do a lot of TCG stuff, and I like to focus here and there on small indie and Kickstarter TCGs as well. I've always really liked Dream Book for quite a while now, and yeah, I just really like the art of it, very distinctive, and also it having this like grid-based gameplay to it. So I think it's very unique, and it's a privilege to be able to have Phil on the show, talk a little bit about it. Now, I'm collaborating tonight with KFCwins. He is another TCG YouTuber, and I'm just going to pass it over if KFC wants to, talk about his channel real quick, and then I'm going to ask Dreambook or Phil to go ahead and introduce Dreambook and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? It's KFC. KFCwins on YouTube. If you want to go check me out, that's where you can find me. But yeah, excited to be on the show, man.
You do some small indie Kickstarter stuff too. You do a lot of interviews and streams, and also check out his channel. He just did an interview with Phil. You can go and get some good information as well. And also another Dream Books artist, Miss Abby Artiste. So that's definitely go over there and check out those two as well. Phil, I'm going to throw it over to you, and I want to just kind of ask, if somebody asked, never heard of Dream Book TCG, just met you, hey, okay, what is Dream Book TCG? How would you kind of briefly just talk about what it is and characterize it amongst all the other card games on the landscape right now?
Sure. So what I tell people is that Dream Book trading card game is a brand new battle tactics TCG. And there's a few things about that makes it unique. One thing that you kind of already hinted at is the grid-based gameplay. So, most trading cards, typically you'll have attack and defense. These cards have attack, defense, they have speed. There's also magic and physical attack. There's two different types of defense, power rating, they have a bounty. So there's a lot of different mechanics on each card that kind of helps it stand out from the majority of card games that are out there.
And remind me too, because I saw on KFC's interview with you, you talked a little bit about your influences with video games coming from that. I know you brought up Fire Emblem, and I don't remember if you brought up Final Fantasy Tactics too, but
I did.
Okay, so those like isometric, kind of grid-based games, you have some influence
Exactly.
of that, right?
So the idea is, so in Dream Book, there's no life points. Your life points are your figments, which are essentially your army. And you're basically the commander in a little battle or a little skirmish that's going on. So you have to command your units, send them to different places. You want to utilize their strengths and mitigate their weaknesses. So every card is going to have kind of their boons and their banes, like what they offer in exchange for a little drawback. And that's kind of how you want to strategize to end up leading yourself to victory, which is by defeating all of your opponent's figments.
Very cool. And I don't know if you ever played, I know you mentioned Fire Emblem, the video game, but there's actually an early Fire Emblem TCG. They have like, the new one is Fire Emblem Zero Cipher. I don't know how that one plays out. I don't think it's grid-based. I think it's kind of like more traditional, like MTG or Pokemon, where you have like a lane or two lanes of different cards. But there's an old Fire Emblem game, and I have a few cards from where they actually had those units do a battle very similar to the way they do in the game, where they actually have like a grid of which way they can attack and how many. It reminds me a little bit of what Genesis Battle of Champions is doing too, with a little bit of like range of attack and whatnot. That's the only other game though that I can think of that really does the grid base. So I think that's, for me, that's something that I've really liked about Dream Book, is just this a grid base that's very much like those video games. You don't see that very much like the trading cards. It seems like most trading cards, to me, just from my perspective, do have more of that like 1 or 2 lane, fewer lane kind of systems, much like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon.
Yeah. A
Go ahead,
long time
KFC.
ago, I actually I did look that up because I wanted to see, if they had done anything like that, and I didn't find any. I know that Fire Emblem did make a game, but as far as I know, like you said, it didn't really utilize those mechanics. And then I never looked into that Genesis one, so I'm not really sure.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you think that's from the fact that, I mean, I could imagine like just balancing a trading card game like a traditional one on its own is pretty hard. So like when you're adding this movement into the game, did it seem like a bigger challenge to you? Did that come easy to you? I mean, to me, when you're talking about making a card game, even in my mind, say something like Magic or whatever, Pokemon, and then I add movement to it. That seems like a pretty daunting task. Like, how long did this take you to work out and kind of balance it?
Yeah, so it came pretty intuitively to me just because I've played a lot of games like that. So to me, it was pretty natural. But also, one thing that makes it a little bit easier to balance, or at least easier to make all the cards unique, is that because there's so many mechanics in the actual gameplay itself, you don't really need like a wall of text on every single card to make it stand out in some way, because there's so many different stats that I can play with, on
Hmm.
each card. So, like for example, a Yu-Gi-Oh card. If a Yu-Gi-Oh card's not an effect monster, it has attack and defense, and that's it, and a level. I guess is the one other thing that you're working with. But other than that, there's really nothing special about that card. So that's why they have to have so many effect monsters, because if they didn't, the cards wouldn't do anything.
Right.
So that they end up, yeah, they'll write like 2 paragraphs of text describing exactly what this card does, where in a game like Dream Book, because you have so many different ways to attack, there's physical, magical defense, different ranges, I can just play with those stats and then maybe add a little one-off effect here and there, and that card's going to stand out on its own.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As you're saying that, it kind of made more sense to me, because at that point you're talking about maybe movements. I'm not real super familiar with the way Dream Book is played, but I mean, like you said, range and movement, so you
Yeah,
can essentially play with them more. I see what you're
right.
saying. Almost like, do you guys remember the game in high school? And I don't know what it was called, but you would take a piece of paper, like a notebook paper, you take a pencil, and it would be you and your buddy, and you draw like a little tank army out, and you kind of just like flick the pencil kind of thing. That kind of style.
I think I remember that.
It kind of reminds me of something like you're moving across this battlefield, and I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's
Before we could do
interesting.
all that on computers with Command and
Yeah,
Conquer and all
that's
that.
cool. Yeah, it's cool how you're putting that kind of into like the battle and the grid system
Yeah.
into a game. I think that's
Well,
cool.
it really reminds me a lot, and this is another thing that I really like about it too, is chess, because my wife and I have played a lot of chess in the past, and with chess, you just have so much variation with just being able to move across grids in different
Mhm.
ways. And so I can see what Phil is talking about. Like if you have a few other abilities, you have so much variation just with being able to move around versus
Mhm.
like the 1 or 2 lane system. So that's why I was really pumped to get like those pre-constructed decks and learn to play this game. 'Cause I don't learn to play a lot of new games. I don't play a lot of TCGs, but because it does remind me kind of like chess. And Phil, I got to ask, is there a strategy like in chess to take and hold the center? Because that's like I don't know if you're a chess player or not. I would
Yeah.
imagine so, because it's got that grid base. But like in chess, you want to, if you can get to the center and you get a lot of units there, is that a big thing in Dream Book, or do the abilities and spells and things that are added on as another layer allow for some more possibilities?
It's a mixture of both. So I'm not like a chess master or anything, but I dabble a little bit. I know the mechanics and stuff. So it definitely does share with chess kind of that whole idea of you want to threaten spaces with your pieces. So a lot of times, if I can't reach you and attack in one turn, then what I want to do is set up my figments so that I'm threatening all the squares that you would want to move to. That way, I can cover some ground, like you said, kind of hold an area. And even if that, isn't doing combat right now, it's putting a lot of pressure on your opponent. So there's a lot of stuff like that.
Except that your bishop can't just not only move diagonally, they could also maybe sling a spell a certain way or retrieve
Yeah.
something from a deck or do all kinds of other interesting things along with moving around the board.
Yeah. The card effects almost make it go from chess to like Mario Party, a lot
Yeah.
more,
Oh,
because
cool.
there's so many different things going on that you can do. But
Yeah. Very cool.
Very
So that was a good overview of the gameplay. Maybe we could talk a little bit about like the lore and sort of the visual design of the game and what inspired you to kind of go down that route. Because that's for me, is the grid-based gameplay makes it very distinct, which is very hard to do in TCGs right now to have a game that really stands out, right? So you have the
yeah.
grid-based gameplay, but then you have this other layer of the art. And I feel like when you look at even just the art of a Dream Book card, that also stands out. And you've got this kind of overarching lore. I don't know too much about the specifics of like the art style and like any kind of story or narrative behind the game, but I know you've got like light versus dark, and it's almost like because it's Dream Book, so it's like dream side is the light side, nightmare is like the
Mhm.
dark side, but then you have these other elements. I'm wondering if you could
Yeah.
speak to any kind of like overarching narrative or maybe lore behind the game that might be inspiring some of the art, or is that something maybe that's still developing as well?
Uh, well, it is still developing, but there's a pretty solid lore to it. So essentially, in Dream Book, each player plays the role of a weaver. And a weaver is someone who has the power to conjure figments from their imagination. Now, the reason that you need this power is because essentially there's a battle going on between the dream and the nightmare. And the dream world it's a plane of existence that is created by the hopes, wishes, and even the fears and the desires of all the people on Earth. So the thing that's happening right now is people on Earth, their hopes and their desires are they're waning away, and what's replacing it is the fear. And because of that, the nightmare in the dream world is growing stronger and stronger every day, as the fear grows larger on Earth.
Yeah.
So the goddess who rules this realm has sent out essentially a calling to all the weavers that she can contact on Earth to come fight for her and join the ranks of her army in the battle to save Dreamworld. So that's kind of what the lore would be.
It's cool. I don't know if you're trying to make a statement here by wearing that shirt, that certain color. Are you Team Nightmare?
Wow.
No, I have both, man. I
I'm
have
feeling
both.
edgy today.
Yeah, I felt edgy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It reminds me of kind of like in Pokemon, you have the trainers, right? Magic, you're planeswalkers. So that seems like it's kind of a fundamental thing, right? Because you've got to have good gameplay, but you also have like this interesting element where you're like casting spell. There's some of that sort of fantasy element too that you have to bring out for the player. And I really
Yeah.
like that. That sounds very evocative. Sounds like something that you guys should get some like short stories up on your website or something and like kind of develop this lore behind the game. I think that would be really cool.
For sure. No, we definitely want to do that. It's all in the plans. We want to do a comic book series, maybe an animated series if and when we can. A video game also to supplement that would be amazing. But there's a lot of ideas in the works.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
something that came to my mind while we were sitting there talking about that, actually, and I know it's your game and you got your own thing planned, but something I would love to see would be a even a promo of yourself or some way to inject yourself into this world, because something I really appreciate about MetaZoo is like Sam Sinclair character, having like, and I'm sure you got this in Dream Book. I'm sorry if you got something like this already, but like having something a little bit relatable to like real life, like even through your eyes or as a character, I think would be awesome. Having you, with your glasses and your hair and just having it in different environments and different, something that's a little bit relatable, but like a character we can tap into on a regular basis. Do you know what I mean? That's something like that would be cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm ranting. I don't know.
No, that would be pretty cool. We do have a few different cards that are based on people that I know in real life. You probably wouldn't be able to tell that, just based on the card, unless you knew that person and the backstory behind it. But it's definitely something that we mess around with from time to time. I will say that just because, I design all the cards from like the text and stuff, there's a little bit of my personality like sprinkled in every single card. So I don't
got
know
you.
if you need a card based on me or not, but I'll think about it. It's a pretty cool idea for sure.
I like, and I'm sure that's a little awkward, like being, you don't want people to look at you like, oh, he's just creating his own promos or something. But it just in my mind, I thought, looking at you here on the screen, I was like, you would fit just perfect in that world because you got your personality is in the game so much based on like the color palettes and things like we talked about the other day. And I think, I don't know, just having you in there somewhere would be cool. I like almost like Where's Waldo, trying to find where's Phil in each set. I don't know, that'd be cool.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Zach Mystery says Dream Book needs a KFC promo. I thought it was that Surfer Carl dude, honestly. When I saw that card, I was like, oh, cool, KFC got a promo.
I was smoked
that looks
dude.
just like you.
Just kidding.
No, I like this idea. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, I like this idea of extending all these worlds beyond the cards because, for me, like I don't have a lot of time. It's just I can't spend a lot of time playing TCGs. That would be really cool if I could make more time to do that. But like some things I appreciate about other card games too, doing when they come out like with the art prints or the T-shirts or the comics or like even Force of Will TCG. Like I think on their website they have like a very extensive lore about like Alice in Wonderland and all these different Alice inspired stories. And I think that's really neat and a cool way to kind of tap into it and engage with it if you can't spend a whole lot of time playing. That goes beyond collecting. And I can definitely see Dream Book doing something like that, right? Having some stories and other ways to engage with it. You were talking about that animated show. I could see your visual style of the game, right? Which is very distinctive, kind of like some kind of flash animation or something like that, bringing those to life. That would be really awesome. And I think this would be a good transition to just kind of look at some of these cards. Phil, you already talked about the gameplay a little bit and how it really brings a lot from, I think, chess, but has this additional layer of other things from typical TCGs. So I wanted to bring up just a couple of cards here. What we're going to do is I've got a few cards. This first one is going to be an Amethyst Adder. This is just kind of like a more what looks like a basic creature to me from Dream Book, and the reason I like it is it kind of reminds me of like a Pokemon character or something. So I think it's very relatable for a lot of people, maybe coming from that or summoning creatures in Magic the Gathering. And it would be cool if you could just kind of walk us through the card and just tell us what some of these elements are. I want to say real quick that one of the things that I really like about Dream Book is, I think you touched on this earlier, like the icons. Everything has like statuses or things that go along with their movement. And it seems like the icons on the card are very large. They're very easy to see. You talked about how Yu-Gi-Oh has blocks full of text, and I don't know. I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh, so when I look at a Yu-Gi-Oh card and I see those huge blocks of text, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's very intimidating, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not once you just kind of play a while and you understand what the cards do.
No, it is. Trust me. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, and even the players think the same thing. It gets ridiculous with just how much reading you have to do. But yeah, so like, being a Yu-Gi-Oh player, right? That's when I was designing my own game. I'm kind of looking at it through that lens and thinking like, I mean, I love Yu-Gi-Oh, but where can we maybe improve on the model that they did? So like you kind of said with the big icons and stuff, that's exactly what I wanted it to be, where right away you can look at the card, pretty much know what it does, what's the main things you need to know, like how much HP, how fast does it move, and all of that stuff is right there for you to see pretty easily. So I'm glad that you definitely picked up on that.
Cool. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, just to kind of take us around the card and tell us some of the icons here. So we already have an idea that these are played on the board, right? You have, we'll look at a playmat here in a minute, but with their own grids. And then like, could you go over maybe just like what, like the boot and the heart, and just kind of run us through the interface of the card?
Yeah, so I'll just start with, so this card, Amethyst Adder, it's planned for release in Crystal Islands, which is the set after Ancient Mystic. This particular card, like you said, is kind of inspired by the old Ken Sugimori Pokemon style. And then getting to the movement speed right here, that's what this boot is. So the boot and the wing and then the 3 right here, that means it has 3 speed and it can move up to 3 tiles each turn. And then to the right of that, you'll notice that this box right here where it says creature is in a particular color. We call that bronze. And that means that it's the lowest rank, and therefore it's free to play. So it doesn't cost you any gems, which are like your resource.
Okay. Now, could you maybe start without any gems, so then you're forced to use some of these lower level creatures?
Yeah, exactly. So you
Ah,
start
okay.
the game, well, essentially you start with one because as soon as you draw a card and the game starts, you get one every time you draw for your start phase.
Like
And
your
then
as your
you would
resource.
play your hand, yeah, from there. But you do have to start the game with a bronze figment. If you don't have at least one bronze in your deck, it's not a legal deck and you wouldn't be able to play.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so this little black star right here, that's an active ability. So the black star is active, the white star is passive. An active ability means that you're going to have to choose to use that, and that'll be like its action for that turn. So an example of using this card, I could move 3 spaces, and then at the end of that movement, I can either perform an action, which would be considered a blitz, or I can just do nothing, which is wait. And then that card will become fatigued, and that's basically like tapped
Tap.
in
Yeah.
Magic. Yeah, exactly. And until your next turn, you won't be able to use it again.
Right. And then
And
the sword, I guess, would be like if you use this,
right.
this has to overcome some kind of number on the card.
So this is 12 physical attack or physical damage, and then
Okay.
1 range. So the way that would work is your damage is going to go against their defense. So if I have physical attack, you would use going down here to this little shield thing with the
Ah,
P and the M. You're going to refer to the P side, which is physical. And so any damage that comes in on the physical side is reduced by 1 to this card.
gotcha. So
And
that's
then,
the
yeah.
shield, the defense for physical, and then the defense for, I would guess, magic.
Yep.
Cool. And then you can only fire this, like you can't go beyond 1 square. Is that what the range was?
So the 1 range means you have to be pretty much adjacent to that card. You can attack in any of the 4 directions, but it has to be right next to its attack target.
Okay.
Yep. Now you covered this already. I know that the movement is the feet with the wings and 3, but did you say that you could move any direction with, or is this just straight? You know what I mean?
No, you can move any direction or any
even reverse?
combination of directions. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So then the heart you said I think was the health. So you have to get.
Yep.
Okay. So you would use some kind of, when we're talking about tokens in this game, you would really need tokens mainly for the health on each creature.
So right now, the official ruling on tokens and stuff like that is you can keep track of the damage and the buffs and all that any way you want to, as long as it satisfies the card effect. Now, the easiest way to do that is pen and paper or 20-sided dice, which is usually I would just recommend 20-sided dice. You can use those for anything. If this card takes, let's say it takes 7 damage, you just grab one of the dice, set it to 7, and put it on top of the card. So
Okay.
that way you can remember, and it doesn't take up too much mental stack. And then the actual HP. So this one, it's a heart, but there are the 4 suits in Dream Book. So you have diamonds, there are spades, and there are also clovers, not clubs, because I changed it to clovers. So each one of those does their own special thing within the game.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'll be in the sort of advanced rules, the advanced layer of that.
Kind of, yeah. It's a little bit more advanced.
Now, you mentioned if you don't have any of these diamonds, this is kind of your main resource that you get one of at the beginning of the game. So now I read from some comments and things. So when you defeat a card, this is the reward, or is that what you would call the bounty? So if someone defeated this adder, they get 1 diamond. And if there's a powerful creature, you get a whole bunch of them, right? And then that's what you can use in addition to your 1 mana you get each turn to then summon new creatures.
That's exactly correct. Yeah. So you only get 1 gem per turn. There's sometimes card effects that will give you gems here and there, but it's pretty hard to do that. And then the other way, which is usually the main way, is by defeating your opponent's figments. That's how you'll end up getting more gems. So yeah, each figment has a bounty down here, and that's how many you would earn.
And that reminds me a little bit of, I think, Hearthstone. I don't know if you've played that game, but it's like you get 1 resource on the first turn, and then the next turn you have 2, and then you get 3. Yeah. So you kind of get 1 addition on there. Good. So yeah, it seems like
the
you got
only
a lot
difference
of
here. Is so in Hearthstone I have played that, but your mana regenerates in Hearthstone. In this game, it does not. So
Okay.
yeah, let's say I have 4 gems and then I spend 3 to conjure a card. Those 3 gems are gone. You're not going to get those back unless you were to go and then defeat another one of your opponent's figments. It's called slaying. But yeah, if I slay your figment, then I would earn more gems.
Okay. I kind of like that because you have to plan a little bit long term. It's not like in Hearthstone where you just get your max mana and then like every turn is just you can do a ton of
Yeah.
stuff. It seems like, right? Or you already have a ton of lands on the board. For example, in Magic,
Yeah.
where you have to kind of regain some resources or you can run out of some of those. So really cool. I feel like I got, for someone who hasn't even really read through the rule book, I feel like that was a pretty like you were kind of teaching me how to play, and I seemed like I didn't have too many questions about that. Just getting right on board. What about
Yeah.
the rarity of this card?
This one, well, so it
Where
doesn't
would you
have a
see that?
rarity yet
Okay.
because it hasn't been printed. But if
Gotcha.
it were an actual printed card, it would be on the right-hand corner, right to the right of where it says creature in that blank
Okay.
space. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then you can tell the rarity based on the color of the set symbol.
Okay. Last two. What about these stars? And then I'm guessing this would be his like element.
Yep,
This
that's the
creature's
element.
Okay. And then
And
these
then the
stars.
stars is the power rating.
The power
So
rating.
the power rating doesn't do anything on its own, but there are certain cards that are going to check the power rating. So like, a card effect might say, this card cannot be debuffed by a figment with a lower power rating. So that way it just kind of gives you a little bit of a benchmark to classify certain cards. And then with the elements, that's going to come into play mostly in deck building because in Dreambook, you can only mix elements from the same group. So that one is Crystal, and Crystal is part of the light group, which means it can mix with Cosmic and Valentine.
Oh, that's very cool. I like that system. It's not like in Magic, like you can mix any of them. They have your own
Yeah.
factions.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool.
Yep. Before we move on, I wanted to say, man, I really like the art, dude. I like that you're taking that, the inspiration from like the old Pokemon stuff. I think it really suits Dreambook, and especially the set too with the gem and the top of the head. I mean, it looks awesome, man.
Thank you.
Well, now is that a conscious decision? And I never really thought of it like that. When you think about artists, or at least when I do, I look at their art and I say, that's his style or her style, and you don't really think like, when you're doing a card set that you could very well just switch your style and do something totally different the whole set if you wanted to. That's very interesting. So was that a conscious decision, or is there going to be more of that in there? Because as a fan of that kind of style, I mean, I think it's awesome, dude. I like that a lot.
Thank you. No, yeah, it's definitely a conscious decision. Like when I designed this card, I was totally thinking about old school Pokemon, Ken Sugimori, watercolor style, kind of that 90s nostalgia. But then, like, there's other cards that, like, I've posted more recently that are totally unique in its own style. And I never want to actually be, even though I love that old school style, I never want to be creatively limited to just doing it one way because honestly, it's like at the end of the day, I'm inspired by so many different things that it would be it wouldn't be true to myself if I were to say, oh, it's only this style for the entire game because I would get bored of that. Like I want to see new stuff all the time. So we do have, like, I know frankly talked about it a little bit earlier, but there's a new card that I just did called Midnight Blue, and that's one of the most realistic cards I think I've ever done for Dreambook. But I do think that it fits the bill because at the end of the day, so Dreambook, part of the IP is anything you can imagine, that's what manifests in the dream world. So we can have a set that's based on literally anything really, and it would still be canon to the actual game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to say before, sorry, I know I'm running on, but I saw this in the Discord the other day, and I want to say this is amazing too. It blew my mind, to be honest. I was like, this is beautiful.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
you were talking about the Pokemon inspirations for the creatures, but saying like you don't just do those. You have a variety of other types too. Like you have, you know, in Pokemon you have mostly creatures, and then like your humans are your trainer cards, are like their own special
Yeah.
card. And something I like about Dream Book is it has a lot of those creatures in there. But then you have something like this. You have a lot of these interesting humanoid creatures, or like even sort of like very fantasy like animal human creatures, like something from like a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book or something. I mean, I really
Yeah.
like those because I read those growing up and collect those. And I think this Midnight Blue is a good example. Like this is a creature that you summon, right? But it has that more humanoid characteristic versus a Pokemon creature.
Yeah, it is. So she's an angelic, which is basically it's a class of creatures in Dreambook that come from a higher plane, the same plane where the goddess resides. So very often they're extremely powerful. They're aligned with the light element more often than not. But you know that could always be an exception to that rule. But yeah, this was definitely inspired by kind of like I would say Kazuki Takahashi's work from Yu-Gi-Oh, which is some of it has those humanoids that are just really striking and really stylized that I always loved. Honestly, he's done some of the most legendary TCG art I think of all time.
There's
So
that Mystic
that's
Elf card, right? Is that one of
yeah,
those? It's like one of those
yeah,
first edition
totally.
ones that go for a lot of money.
Yep, totally.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about this card in terms of everything we just talked about? Like, it looks like it's really powerful because I saw this in the comments for this. Like, someone was saying it might have been Jimbo. I don't know if it was J Bones or somebody saying if you destroy this card, you get a lot of those resources, right? Because you get 7,
Hmm.
and that must mean that it is a very powerful card, right? So,
Yeah.
could you explain like what like is this a hard card to get out on the board, and then what makes it very powerful once you do so?
Yeah, this is going to be extremely difficult to get into play for one thing, but then once it is in play, she has the ability Singularity. So it's 2 range, and she's got the 4 speed, which is super fast. And then it just says shuffle target with lower power rating into the deck. Now she has a 6-star power rating, which means there's only one other figment in the entire game that would not be able to be targeted by her singularity ability. And essentially, that will just effectively one shot any target. Like they're not going to the boneyard; they're just being shuffled into the deck. But all you have to do is like if your opponent doesn't control any figments at any time, you win. So it's essentially as good as just getting rid of that figment. And then if you look at like how many resources they might have put into that card, like they might have sunk 4 or 5 gems into a 5-star figment, and then you come with a 6-star and just wipe it off the board without even like checking for effects or anything. So it's really, really strong. And then her passive's okay. It's not quite as strong as the active, but it is good in certain situations. It says cosmic figments in play are unaffected by your opponent's skill cards. So that can come in handy, especially as the power creep goes on. The skills are going to get a lot better. Right now, the skills are a little on the weaker side. That's going to change a bit with Ancient Mystic, and then as time goes on, there's going to be more and more skills that you'll want to watch out for. So that ability will be more useful. Yeah.
It reminds me of something in Magic the Gathering. They have in Modern and in Legacy, something called Death and Taxes, where they have a lot of cards that just like make it harder for your opponent to cast any kind of spells on you, to target you or your creatures, or use certain abilities, make them have to pay more. And this ability where your cosmic figments in play are unaffected by your opponent's skill cards, it seems like so it creates a shield. So it has kind of
Yeah.
like that kind of element to it. And would you remind me, so how do you summon this card? Is it the 7 is what you get for destroying this card, but you also
Mhm.
need 7 to summon it?
No, so the bounty is totally separate. The cost for conjuring the card is always going to be based on this box right here, which is around the type where it says angelic. So this
Oh, this
box,
full.
because it's the black one, where it's all black,
Hmm.
that means that it's the obsidian rank, which is really the heaviest rank there is because it
Oh, okay.
requires another card in order to play that card.
So the resource cost to play it is determined by this color around the text.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
that's very cool. I have not seen that before. So using some of the colors to actually give um, those numerical attributes. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, want to jump to talk about kind of specialty cards in this set, like secret rares, alt arts, and I saw that this one is actually a full art. So I think it's
Yeah.
showing up on Melon here. So is this the first set now with full arts? I don't think you had this in the Kickstarter or in previous sets. And also, while I'm at it, let me throw this in here. We actually got a question from JSLLS17, Jezel17. Can you explain about the hidden deck, how that takes place in the actual lore? I see that there's some, it says hidden on both sides. Could you tell us what that means? And I don't know about the connection with the actual lore, if there's something there.
So the hidden deck, in terms of the gameplay, it acts as an extension of your hand. So these are figments that you can access at any time if you have the resources to play them. So basically, they're going to be usually stronger, but they're going to have typically a heavy cost. So you can't just get them out right away. And a lot of times they're going to be your boss monsters. So in the lore, those would really be, think of Yugi and Dark Magician, like the figments that you have the strongest bond with that are like always there for you. Those are your hidden figments. They're hidden within your heart, if you will. So yeah, one of the things in Dream Book is you use the power of your heart to conjure the figments, at least for the mortals. But yeah.
So it's in your deck and you can pull it out. So that's something from Yu-Gi-Oh. I've never played it, so but that's kind of interesting how you have an extension in your deck. If you can meet certain requirements, you can actually tap them out of your deck. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Now for the full art, we've got other kinds of rarities too. Can you talk about what other kinds of rarities are? Now this would be, I guess, a jump up from just pulling this card in her standard form, right?
Yeah.
What other kinds of things do you have going on here? And I'm going to pull up the Draconic Sorceress sketch rare as well.
Yeah,
but I know there are actually quite a few that are going to be in this set, Ancient Mystic.
Yes. So, okay, so this card that we were just looking at, probably not going to be an Ancient Mystic. It is an awesome card, but yeah, that card will be, though. This one right here, Draconic Sorceress, is going to be in Ancient Mystic, which is coming out soon. And this is one of the rarest cards that you could possibly pull. It's a sketch rare. It's at the same tier as the prototypes and the full art signatures, which are going to be in there. And also, this is the first borderless, besides the full art signature in the Kickstarter box. But this one's actually playable. So this is the first playable full art borderless card in all.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the full arts are maybe a grade lower than these. There will be more full arts than these sketch rares.
They are going to be at the same tier.
Okay.
So I can tell you right now, all at the same level is the Fabled rares, which are pretty much the highest out of your normal rarities on the normal spectrum. And then outside of that, there's Super Secrets. Now, Super Secrets are like, they're not normal cards. So that's where you get your proto rares, your sketch cards, your full art signature cards, and there are going to be actually 6 different super secrets in the set. They're all on the same playing field, and those are equal to the Fabled rares. So, because I didn't want to really diminish from either one, the playable cards are very important, and that's why I wanted to put them at the same tier with the highest rarity.
Okay, so if you need a Draconic Sorceress, are you saying that you can get this in a more common version, or do you have to really go after this?
Oh, no, it only comes in the one version.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, wow. I like that. So there's gonna be a lot of chase to this.
Yeah.
And so you have proto rares. Are those actual? So we're looking at the Instagram the description here. It says proto rares, full art signatures, and then this sketch rare. First of all, I want to say I like how you did the sketch rare here and just these. Is this? This is Philip Siegel. So in the actual like colored pencils or marker or whatever you use to make it instead of like just a black and white sketch, I think that's really cool. Full art signatures, I think I understand what that's all about. Can you tell me about the proto rares? I think I saw something about this that's like, are these things that you actually drew when you were coming up with the game, or are they resembling that? What is the deal with the proto rares?
Yeah, so the proto rares are actually scans, 1-to-1 copies of the original prototypes, which were hand drawn in 2013 on sketch paper when I was going to college. So I was in my very young 20s, and that's when the game very first was, developed, or the inception was back during that time. And then I continued to work on it over the next 7, 8, 10 years, and developed the modern version of the game based on those prototypes. So it's a history piece for Dream Book, and people really seem to gravitate towards those in the beta set. So we decided to bring them back.
Very cool.
That's cool. I've pulled some of those before, actually, from the first set.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yep.
I didn't really know if people were going to even care about those, but it seemed like that was like the whole chase for the whole set. So
Well, dude, I'll tell you this: I had like 3 or 4 people hit me up. They know I got some of them. They don't know how many I got, so they're always like, "How many you got? You willing to trade? Or how much you want to sell them for? Stuff like that."
Yeah, people love like sample cards, like pre-production, and you see like all the time with Pokemon, they have like these square cut like pre-production cards going for crazy money, like on heritage auctions and things like that. It's not huge for me. I really like, for me, going after like the mainline product these days. It's just more attainable, and there's always some cool chase stuff in here, in those as well. So that's why I'm really excited about Ancient Mystic. Is like I don't have to worry about chasing down a lot of these like proto rares from alpha and beta. Like they're cool and everything, right? But you've got so much chase stuff loaded in these boxes.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna have plenty of fun looking for those in those boxes. And can you tell us anything about, or are you gonna keep it secret, of pool rates? Like, can I open one box and get one of these super secret cards, or is it maybe potentially not gonna be possible?
Sure. No, I'll tell you. I'll tell you the set ratios right here. I'll go ahead and open it up on my computer, and with any luck, these are going to be the actual set ratios that we're going to see. Because obviously, last time I told them random, and they didn't quite understand what random means. So now we've got specific ratios for how many you should be able to pull. So the fabled rares, which includes the super secrets, actually, because like I said, they're all on an equal playing field. The population is going to be 1 out of 35. So for each design, only 35 are going to be made, and you will get between 0 and 2 per box.
So that's lower than the previous proto rares. Then that's because I think they were 50.
It's a little bit lower, but the reason for that, okay, so like in the beta set, there was only those 2 proto rares, right? 50 of each. So that's 100 total, which means 1 out of 5 boxes you might hit one. Now in this, there's actually 6 different fabled rares plus 6 different super secrets. So you have 12 different cards in that 1 out of 35 category that you could potentially pull. So yeah, there's a lot. Like the thing is, there's so many different designs. Like you're going to probably be able to pull at least one of them, but if you want to collect all of them, that'll be hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think every box that I've opened so far, throughout all the sets, I've at least, I want to say I pulled either a Fable or a Proto from at least one, something good from the box. You know what I mean? And at least, and usually I've had boxes that have been better, but usually it's about half the packs have like a hollow. I guess it would just be a hollow, not a full hollow, or whatever you call it. But I'm excited to see your full art cards, because something that I really am proud of you guys about, and girls, I guess I should say it, but I'm proud about it, is y'all's card stock, the condition, and how they hold up. I mean, I leave some of my stuff out it's really humid here. Sometimes it's hot, it's extremely cold. And out of all the cards, the TCGs that I got, obviously I can't show this on camera, but your cards hold up better than, a lot of these other companies. I won't say any names, but I just think, and your centering is often right on point too, usually.
I've noticed that too. I have some Dream Book cards, and they look and feel great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we did. We asked for and paid for the highest quality card stock that they have. And then also on top of that, they're actually all treated with a humidity protection varnish on every single card. So that's why they don't crinkle, as much as some cards do.
That's really cool.
Wow. because I'll be honest. I guess I could say Pokemon. I mean, y'all know I don't know if you've ever had a Pokemon card, a hollow that's kind of old sitting in the pack. You pull it out and it looks like a taco. Almost.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had that before.
People are
I mean,
always
like if
talking
you
about
leave them in the
foils and
garage,
Magic.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say those pull rates, I feel like that's a really good pull rate that you landed on, because it feels like if you buy 2 boxes, you have a solid chance of getting something really cool, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of
Yeah.
control over which card it'll be, but you'll get something, maybe even you get 0 to 2 per box. You could even get up to 4 of them, right? But then there's also a lot of chase, because maybe you see one you really like. Okay, can I trade for that one, right? Or maybe
Exactly.
I have something else. I opened 4 boxes. I got all this cool stuff, but I have plenty more still to chase. And we can, remind everyone too that there are only 500 boxes, right? That's pretty much set in stone that they're going to be, that those pull rates are
Yeah,
based
it's
on.
going to be 500 boxes.
So
Wow.
yeah. So even some of the non-super secret rares, there's going to be some scarcity to these cards, which I really appreciate.
No, yeah, they're definitely going to be pretty dang rare. It's basically going to be like, the reason I also included all that variety is I didn't want the chase card to be just one card, or like, if I didn't pull this, then whatever, it's not a good box. This one, there's really a lot to go after, and I want the actual individual players and collectors to decide what's their favorite card in the set. You've got over 12 different really high-end cards, all 1 out of 35 that you can potentially pull, and I'd like people to decide what their favorite one is and make that the chase, instead of like, oh, this is the Mothman, or oh, this is the Charizard, and everything else is second tier. So it'll be interesting to see what people gravitate towards and what ends up being the I guess the big boss of the set. But yeah.
And maybe I could, if you don't mind me asking, is there you guys got a little bet, or maybe in private artist Discord or chats, are you guys talking about who's hollow, or who's rare, or who's fable rare, or secret rare is going to be the favorite?
There hasn't been too much of that. We're really all about building each other up with the art team and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's, as artists, you put enough pressure on yourself to succeed and to do something that's worthwhile. So the last thing you need is trying to one up each other. But yeah, it can be a little bit of a healthy competition sometimes. But I think honestly, I really love all of them, and that's why, like, the fabled rares from the special box, we had one from each artist, because I love all of the art, so I wanted everyone to have their chance to shine.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome opportunity, especially for people or new artists for you guys. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think that's something y'all do really well too. It's not like in Pokemon, everyone's going to be going after the Charizard, or like the most favorite evolutions or whatever.
Yeah.
Like those seem to always take the limelight. And with Dream Book, like it's almost like, well, they're all you have all these super rares, they all look great. It's kind of like, well, which one do you like the most, right? And for me, that makes it more interesting with trading. It's like, I got this really super secret rare, but I like that one. Would you be willing to trade, or maybe sell this one and get another one that I like? And it's not like everyone's gonna be chasing that one favorite Pokemon or something, right? There's a little bit more balance. It at least feels like, for me, and maybe that has to do with just the quality of the art and the very unique characters that are still kind of new to a lot of people as well.
Thank you. Yeah, one person's grail might be the sketch rare, and for another person, it might be the full art signature from their favorite artist. And a few different artists are going to have a full art signature in this one, so it's going to be pretty cool.
Could we talk about grading a little bit? I pulled up your latest post. I know, did I get this right? Is it DSG, Diamond Services Grading? So you can send your Dream Book cards to them. And then when I went to their site, I've seen like this with some of your promos you have at Collecticons. They have like special labels or certain labels that look a little bit different from some of the other ones. Do they have a Dream Book specific label, or is it just how they turn out because they try to match a certain custom label to the color of the card? Could you just talk about that a little bit, the grading, and if anyone else is looking to grade these right now, where you can go?
Sure. Yeah. So, well, to start, we are gradable with several different grading companies. DSG is our official grading partner. So, I always point people to DSG first. I think they're awesome. They do a great job. They get your cards back in a timely manner. And I love the slabs. but we have also Beckett. We are officially on the roster with Beckett, and then we have degree grading. There's also COBA grading, obviously AGS, and I know that people have sent cards to PSA, and I've talked a little bit to some people who are in with PSA. I don't know if they're officially grading them yet or what happened to those cards yet, but stay tuned because PSA might be on the roster also soon.
Awesome.
And then as far as the labels go, so that's the standard DSG label, the one that is in this photo. I really like it, and I usually use that one. But they also have different custom labels that you can use, and there's a variety of ones to pick from. Now, we do want to create a actual Dream Book official label for DSG, where you can grade your cards and get it in the Dream Book label also. But that's still kind of in the works. You have to order like a minimum of 5,000 labels just to do that. And at the moment, I don't need to grade 5,000 cards, but we probably will do that down the line as kind of everything grows, and especially just if demand grows for the graded cards, we're definitely going to be doing that with DSG.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was trying to look up over here on eBay because I couldn't find a readily available picture over on Instagram real quick. But y'all had like some special labels that looked like from your Collecticon promos, like that were already graded.
That was actually a custom label that Poncho did from MetaZoo. Yeah, it was like a black label or a black light label with the pink on it. Under the black light, it like glows and stuff. Yeah, that's the one.
See, yeah,
It does
so
look really cool. But
yeah, that is really cool. So you can't get that right now if you send off a card to DSG. You're going to get the regular label, but we're hopefully at some point going to see some custom Dream Book labels. That would be really cool.
I believe you can get that one if you want it. You can still pay to get the pink
Awesome.
black light label. Yeah.
Okay, I think those look great. They match up with Dream Book really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, they do. They look good.
Well, if you don't mind, this would be a good transition. We've talked a little bit about the different rarities of Ancient Mystic. I kind of wanted to go to the website, and what I'm going to do is go to over in the shop where you can get the Ancient Mystic. And at the end of the stream, we're going to look at all the different products you can get and kind of some resources where you can go to learn more about Dream Book, look at the rule book, what kind of products would you recommend. But we're going to pull up the Ancient Mystic booster box right here. And I kind of wanted to ask you just some general questions about like why Ancient Mystic? What made you come up with that name or that particular theme for your first set? And then also in terms of gameplay, like are the sets going to have particular abilities or types of figments that stand out more than others?
Yes, so absolutely, each set does have a theme. Now, for Ancient Mystic, the theme essentially is darkness and magic. So if you look at the box, you have Black Sonia on the left. She's representing for the Diablos, and you can see the purple in the writing there kind of accents that as well. And then on the right, you've got Gorgon. Now, Gorgon is a brand new figment who is one of the main bosses. She's also Diablo, but she represents a new archetype, which is reptiles. And reptiles are going to have some super strong bosses and support in this set, and that's where the green comes in, and also the goblins. So there's a lot of goblin cards, which are swamp, and those are actually green colored too. So those are kind of where the color coordination comes from and the theme of the set. Those are going to take mostly the spotlight, but you have other elements as well. So there's still cosmic, aqua, there's some blaze cards, all that stuff. But the main element is going to be the dark guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of synthesis kind of ready to go, building decks around that element, I suppose. And
yeah, if you opened like I would say 3, maybe 4 boxes of this set, you should have everything you need for a really strong deck.
Cool.
Very cool. You have some options too, I would suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a question here from
Go ahead.
JSLLS17. Could you go into some of your favorite interactions that you've seen in the game so far? And I guess we could also relate that to the Ancient Mystic discussion of if you can talk about any interactions specific to that set.
Sure. So, well, this set hasn't been released. So as far as interactions, I haven't seen that many playing out yet. I can talk about a specific interaction that I saw recently in the last tabletop tournament. And so the winner of that tournament, his name was Adonis. He's in the UK, and he won that playing an Aqua deck. It was a mix of the beta starter decks and then some cards from the new sets as well. And the way that he won the game, one of his strategies was he had a card called Marshmallow Knight, which is a common, and it's just a bronze, and pretty weak attack, but it has 30 HP. Very low defense as well. But its passive effect says anytime a figment you control would take damage, you can make Marshmallow Knight the attack target instead. So he would have Marshmallow Knight on his home row, way out of danger, and then he would send some like heavy attackers right up into the front line and dish out a ton of damage to the other guy's like back line. But when they would go to counterattack, it didn't do anything because all of that damage was being soaked up by Marshmallow Knight, who was way back on the home row. So it was honestly a really strong strategy. And he used that card, I would say, probably to get the victory.
Cool. Do y'all keep up with balancing and sort of the meta? Like, let's say if that Marshmallow Knight deck would just keep taking over, every tabletop simulator tournament, or if it came to, I guess with tabletop simulator, maybe you could talk about like, does it come to light that maybe a card is too powerful and you have to nerf it or issue some kind of errata, or
not yet?
Be a good variety?
With enough playtesting and enough people, trying to break the game, I'm sure at some point we will discover something that either needs to be banned or nerfed or limited or something like that. But there's a few things that help that situation already right off the bat. And one of those is the fact that you can only have one copy of each individual card in your deck in the current format, which is traditional format. So like, let's say you're aware that Marshmallow Knight, potentially a very broken card, well, you can still only play one of them in your deck. And if your opponent knows how to get around that, they can, take care of that one card, and it's really not going to be coming back. So,
okay, I didn't know that you could only have one card of each deck. So that makes, I guess, each gameplay experience would have a lot of variety to it, because there's a good chance that you can't rely on, like, you have your play set of 4 typically in Magic, right? That you can kind of rely on drawing pretty consistently, but not if you only have one card of each one. So you have to look for a lot more interactions that could come into play. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So instead of kind of building this broken engine where you're going to see all the same combo pieces every game, this is more about playing the hand that you're dealt. And each game is going to be, like you said, its own unique individual experience, because you have so many different cards and they're going to come out in different orders as well. So the interactions you get, there really is a lot.
Cool. KFC, you were going to say something earlier. I wanted to talk about a question coming from Vincent, but if you want to go ahead and get your comment in, we can do that now.
Can't even remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that you mentioned just now that they're still making decisions on some of the cards and some of the mechanics for Ancient Mystic, but Vincent asked if there's a gallery for each set somewhere online. And I would maybe alter this question and say, will there be, once you've sorted out every card for the set and now made those final decisions?
So we don't have a visual gallery for each set, but we do have a master database where you can look at every single card on the Excel sheet that is in a given set. Now, if you want to get more of a visual on each card, I would recommend just going to our Instagram, because we do post a ton of cards. Not to say that every single one will be there, but a lot of them will be. And then that way you still get, you can see the cards and get a taste of what you're going to be getting in the box, but it's not a complete spoiler reveal like every single card. So there's still a lot of mystery when you're opening up the new box, because not really anyone knows what could be in there.
Cool. I like that, instead of having like a spoiler season where you can just be like, oh, let's see every card that's going to be in the new MTG or Pokemon set, right? It leaves a little bit of surprise. And that'll be fun when we start opening up some of these products too, or showing them on camera. Like, there might be legitimately cards that no one has ever seen before yet, or haven't seen yet.
There definitely is.
So this might be a good time to go over and look at just the mainline products on your store. And I also just kind of want to leave the stream with giving some good areas that people can go to for the resources. Because you just mentioned Instagram is a place where you can get kind of a good visual guide or see a lot of spoilers. And I can tell you, I don't spend a whole lot of time on Instagram, but like one of the primary reasons I'm on there and the things that I'm always most excited to see is the new, a new card from Dream Book or see what awesome art is being displayed on there.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Jimbo asks, are there any Goblin cards available on Tabletop Simulator? And we don't have to talk about TTS too much because I actually want to bring that up as a resource too, or for people wanting to get to play the game. But if you want to answer that question, I don't have the answer to that.
So right now, the way Tabletop works is when you download the mod on TTS, there's a certain amount of cards that are available by default. But if you have a custom deck, or like Jimbo, in your case, I know who Jimbo is, so he can DM me anytime. But all you have to do if you want to play with certain cards is go to Discord and either post in the tabletop or send me a direct message, and we'll actually upload your deck profile to tabletop. So that way you can save it and you'll always have it for next time you play. So like in Jimbo's case, if you want Jimbo, I can actually upload all the Goblin cards for you, and then you can save them and you can test it out.
Very cool. On your website, you want to just kind of walk us through where the best places to go if you want to find out more about Dream Book, if you want to see more Dream Book cards, if you want to learn to play. Let's just kind of talk about just the homepage here. Like, where would you direct people to go? They've never bought any Dream Book. They have no Dream Book. They're looking to find out more about the game. Where would you recommend they start?
If you know absolutely nothing and you just want to see more about it, I would honestly just go up to that right-hand corner and click on the Instagram link, and that will take you directly to, you can click it if you want. It'll take you to our Insta page, yeah, and you can see all kinds of new stuff, whatever takes your fancy. Read about it, check it out.
Yep.
If you want to learn how to play, then that's from our first real life tournament. Is pretty awesome.
There are a lot of great updates on here. Cards, where you guys are like if you're at a Collecticon, spoilers, things coming out, collabs you're doing, what products are going to look like, where to get them. I really appreciate all the updates that you give on here, keeping me in the know when the new products are coming out. And then if we do go to so Instagram's a great place to do get updates. And I notice you have a email here. Do you do a newsletter?
Yeah, so you can, if you want, subscribe to our mailing list, and we do send out email campaigns, usually on every release. So like before Ancient Mystic went live for pre-order, we sent out a big email to all of our email lists. Yeah, you can chat with us anytime. Like if you actually go to the Let's Chat and you type anything in, we will read that like almost right away. So,
Okay.
Feel free to utilize that for those who, don't have Instagram or whatever. But yeah.
And then you have a learn to play section over here. So those are some good socials, good areas to find information. And you've got your rulebook right here on the website, right? So is there a physical? I have a couple Blaze decks, but I forgot if there were physical rules in there or if you have to go to the website. But they're right here.
There is a physical rule book in all of the starter decks, but on the website right now,
there being a mat.
Yeah, there's a play mat too. But this is the most updated version. Will always be on our website. So like right now it says Dream Book Official Rulebook 1.0. That is, you can only read that version online, but it will be printed in the new starter decks after this next set. So yeah.
Very cool. Then you've got events on here now. So you've got your Collecticon. That's kind of your main events that you have, right? And you have a tournament coming up at a local store, don't you, in California?
Yeah, in Burbank, there's going to be a tournament at a shop called Game Realms, and that's coming up next month.
Okay. All right, so now we're on the shop, and this is where the official place you go to get pre-orders. There's some stuff on the secondary market as well, but this is the official store. Do y'all have any like official I guess, sellers or TCGs, or would they be listed somewhere at a certain point of time if you had something like that? Not TCGs, card game stores.
Yeah, so there's two places in terms of brick and mortars where you can actually buy Dreambook products right now, and that would be AG Collectibles in SoCal, Rancho Cucamonga, and then also Game Realms in Burbank, which is like an LA area. And on top of that, obviously, you can buy stuff from our website, and we have a whole list of online sellers and distributors that I could start rattling off, but all kinds of different streamers that we work with to sell products online. So you should definitely be able to find it if you're looking for it. But our website's always a good place to start too.
Cool. So you've got a lot of stuff that you've been selling from since the beta, right? Which we're also out of 500, so very limited. Usually, it seems like a lot of things are out of 500, except the promos can kind of vary. And then right now, what is available are you've got some of this cool stuff that I'd like to see y'all expand on. You know, art prints, posters, uncut sheets, that kind of thing, comics, all that stuff. But you got some T-shirts up here. You do have some of the expansion for your Kickstarter, and then over at the top here, I would say, in my opinion, are sort of the mainline things that would be best for getting into the game. So what would you recommend? I guess the garden patch kits are like your available pre-constructed decks. Are these compatible with Ancient Mystic coming up, or are these kind of like standalone for playing the game?
They are compatible, so you can build and mix and match your deck any way you want, as long as it goes by those rules of only one copy of each card, and also not mixing elements from different element groups. But like you could get the Garden Patch theme deck, which is a great place to start, and then open up one of the booster boxes and start swapping out cards, modifying it however you see fit. Basically, the Garden has a bunch of little smaller, kind of weaker guys, but they all work together to become a threat. Where a lot of the booster box cards, they they're kind of their own thing. So a lot of them might stand on their own and do their own effect really well. Some of them might need to be combined with another card, but it's kind of up to the player to figure out, okay, which cards do I want to drop and which cards do I want to keep, when I'm building my deck based on that starter deck.
Okay. Now, just kind of looking at the whole product, you got the beta, you've got the alpha, you've got the Kickstarters, you've got the Ancient Mystic. So remind me, I know you just said the Garden Patch theme decks will be compatible with Ancient Mystic. You know, if you're going to a tournament, are you able to kind of look back at some of these older cards as well and put them in there, or do y'all have some kind of limits on those?
No, so everything from the beta and forward is fully playable.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you
Thank
can
you very
use your
much.
beta cards. Yeah, you can use your Kickstarter cards, whatever you want.
So, guys, we're going to close out here. This has been a great stream. I feel like we've covered so much really good information about Dream Book as a whole, but also Ancient Mystic. But we want to close out and talk about Tabletop Simulator, like how can us who are spread apart, maybe not in California, can't get to that closest game store that's running tournaments. How can we get into Dream Book? I want to talk about TTS, how to just find that and get hooked up with Dream Book on that. But also, guys, if you have any final questions, please let us know. Comments, questions, go ahead and get them in the chat now, and we will be able to close out the stream answering your questions. But yeah, while we wait for any more of those to come in, Phil, if you could just tell us, like, if you want to go ahead and get started playing, you had not sold on getting a Garbage Patch theme deck, you want to go ahead and start playing online and get a feel for it. How do you? I'm kind of a noob at this. I haven't done TTS yet. I think eventually, if y'all get to a point where you can get your own like MTG arena, that I think that would be really cool. Like flash animations of your
That would be
particular art
awesome.
style and everything. That would be really cool. I'd be all over that. Special effects and that Dream Book intro you have before coming up and loading. That would be sweet. But TTS, yeah. So where do you go to access that? I assume like Steam. Maybe you can go to Steam
Yep.
and do that. Okay. Yeah. Just walk us through. Someone like me who doesn't know, never used it before. Where do you go to get it, and then how do you go from it to actually playing Dream Book specifically?
Sure. So if you want to play on tabletop, you just go to Steam, search for Tabletop Simulator. I believe it's $20.
Yep.
Sometimes it's on sale. But yeah, you download it, and then there's a place called Workshops. Like once you click on Tabletop in Steam, there's a little sub menu somewhere in there. It says Workshops. So you click on that. Then you're gonna search for they're like different mods. So you search for the mod that you want. So you type in Dream Book TCG, and we have two mods. We have the party board and we have tournament mode. So tournament is 1v1. The party board is up to 4 players. You can play with teams or you can play free for all.
Cool. And then you all have TTS tournaments, like official tournaments that you can actually win stuff in?
We do, yeah. So the TTS tournaments we do every once in a while. And if you want to sign up for that, basically just DM us on Instagram or type on the Discord once we post about it, and we'll go ahead and add you to a group. But yeah, once we get it all set and ready to go, usually we do brackets of up to 8 people, and then we'll open up as many brackets as we need. So if we need 16, we'll just do 2 brackets, and then we play it out from there. Typically, you're out after one round if you lose, but there's like one more redemption round. So if you want to sign up again, you can play again in like an alternate, kind of like the losers bracket. That way, if you feel like you got a bad game, it's not all over right away. But then, yeah, we do prizes as well. So last time, Adonis, he took first place, and he got the first ever holographic uncut sheet for Dream Book, which is a pretty huge prize. So that was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see y'all do like a serialized print run of those or something. I'd definitely be trying to grab one and put it up here in my studio. That would just be so cool. But awesome. So it sounds like if you want to get in Dream Book, it's definitely accessible. I think we're gonna just close out here. If we want to do some Ask KFC, thanks for, if you have any final questions or comments or just things you want to plug. Thanks for collaborating and being a part of the stream with me. And then I'll go ahead. So I don't have anything too much to plug. I think KFC and I are gonna maybe be hitting up another stream next weekend. So we'll talk about what we're gonna be doing with that. And then I'm just gonna have a bunch of videos coming up this week. I'm gonna split this stream up into a few different clips so we can get some different videos out there just on specific topics, accessible to people just looking for a particular question to be answered about Dream Book. But anything you would like to close out with, Phil, that you want us to kind of hone in on or highlight about Dream Book before we end the stream here?
I think we pretty much touched on all the main stuff. I just want to say thank you again to everyone and anyone who likes my game, cares about it, is interested in it. We couldn't do it without you guys, and I love you guys, and I really hope that we can continue to push the needle forward and keep the ball rolling for a very long time to come, and turn it into the cultural sensation that I hope we one day can be. So yeah, if you guys are loving the products that we're doing, just show the love on Instagram, order the new set if you're down for it. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it, man.
Phil, I know we've been going an hour and 10 minutes. We got a last question in, if you're able to stick around for just a minute. Jezel17 asked, do you have any ideas for future sets? And I kind of forgot to touch on that because we started going past 8 here. But do you want to talk anything about like what's maybe the next set being planned after this one, or what you're looking ahead to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have actually all the way up to set number 8 is planned out. And the one after Ancient Mystic is Crystal Islands. Now, this is going to be a set where, so like the theme of Ancient Mystic is like darkness and magic. You've got black, purple, and green as kind of like the main set colors. With Crystal Islands, the themes are paradise, the ocean, the future, utopias, and also basically just luxury in general. So it's going to be based on the color pink, and there's going to be some other kind of like, neon cool stuff in there, all very futuristic, super vibey. I have a lot of artistic inspirations that I'm going to be using for the set, but it's going to branch out in what I would consider a unique direction, both for Dream Book and for any TCG in general. So I'm actually really excited about it. I think it's going to be an awesome set and something that just, again, kind of sets us apart from a lot of other games.
Yeah, I'm imagining like a Sonic the Hedgehog level with like islands with these giant crystals, like
Yeah.
like that Emerald Labyrinth or there's some kind of like level in Sonic where you can go underwater and go through all these ruins and stuff like
Totally.
that. So
Yeah, totally.
I can see that vibing that really well. So
That's cool.
yeah, so it looks like we got all the questions. Phil, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on my channel and to be a part of the stream. I love Dream Book TCG. I kind of echo Jimbo's last sentiment here. Love your game, Phil. Keep it up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this set and all the ones to come and actually learning to play. So definitely look forward to some point when I get my decks to, I'm going to try to do like a gameplay video and maybe talk a little bit more about it. So I'm really excited for the set. And yeah, hopefully maybe we could have you on again at some point, like with each release and just talk about that particular release. And
Yeah, that'd be
what's
cool.
going to be unique about that. I think that would be a great series.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I'm totally down for that. And thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. And yeah, anytime you want to have me back, let's do it.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks again, Phil. We really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Have a great night. Have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for everyone who showed up. Bye.
See ya.